So this is ultimately it does a building a acid-base table type question. That's the skill that I'm going to use to solve this. Once we've built the table, we'll be able to fairly quickly determine relative strength. So we have 3 reactions. The first building block skill that you have to realize in answering this question is when we're told something favors reactants, it's less than 50%, and table-wise, the acid would be below the base. We'd have to physically go up to the other column to find the base. Okay. We're going to build a table using that. The second reaction also favors reactants. So when we can identify the acid, we can place the base above it in a table. The bottom reaction favors the products. So that'd be greater than 50%. That would be when the acid is above and the base is lower than it. So we have to kind of take these 3 pieces of information and develop a table from it. I'm not going to write out a beautiful table, but I'm going to get the pieces organized. So when I say it won't be beautiful, I'm just going to go A and B for my acid and my base. So I'm going to decode the first one. I have to figure out what the acid is. And if I look at the bromine containing compound, it starts with an H and it ends up without one. So the bromine containing piece is losing its H. So that makes it an acid. So that means that must be our base that picks it up. Favors reactant, so the acid must be below the base. So I'm going to kind of organize my piece, organize my paper. HBRO, I'm going to kind of put in the middle so I can go above it, I can go below it. But the ClO minus base must be above it in the base column. That would give us less than 50%, which gives us this reactant favored term. Now at the end, I can fill in the conjugates of those 2 chemicals. Okay, or at some point I'll start filling them in. If we look at the second reaction, we don't have either of those chemicals already. So I'm actually going to skip the second one. Okay. Now, if I look at the I piece, I'll analyze it a little bit. That's the piece that's losing the H again, transferring it to our base. So that's our acid, that's our base, but I'm going to hold off adding it to my table. If we look at the bottom one, it's products favored. This is where the acid will be above the base. My HBRO, there's the Br, and it's losing an H, so that's our acid, and the other chemical is our base. Okay. Now I'm going to analyze this bottom one because this HBRO is already kind of in my little skeleton table. Okay. Favors products, that goes with greater than 50%. It goes with acid is higher, I've got to go down to the base to get this products favored. So C6H5O minus has to be below it. Okay. So we kind of have 3 ranked. The chlorine containing 2 pieces, which I don't have yet, will be first. Then we got a Br piece. Then we got this C6H5O piece is lowest down in our table. Okay. And I think I'll put in the conjugates now before I analyze that last reaction. So if I complete kind of this row, the acid would have 1 H added to it. So this would be HClO. Neutral would be the conjugate of the base. Okay. Our second row currently, that's the acid, so I have to take an H away to write its conjugate. Drop the charge by 1. Okay. Our third row, we have the base, so I have to add an acid to it, or add an H to it. Okay. You may not be fully sure where to put it. I wouldn't be too picky whether you put it at the end next to the negative or whether you just went C6, H6. So this is an acid base strength table being built. We've got to add in one more piece of information. I skipped the second one because I need neither chemical. We have C6H5O as our base with IHIO. So this is already in our table. And which way do we need it? We need the acid below the base. I know the base already, so I need the acid to be below it to get that less than 50%. So what was the acid again? It's HIO. So that lets us build our last line in our strength table. So the conjugate base, I just take the H away and drop the charge by 1. So these 3 reactions gave us 4 chemicals in our acid base table. Now we have to realize the strongest acid is on the top left. The weakest acid would be there. The strongest base is at the bottom. No, see, I'm saying strongest. I'm not saying it's a strong base. It's the best we have. And the weakest base we have would be on the top. So then we can just read the question and figure out what order did they ask for. The 4 acids rank strongest to weakest. Okay, so the strongest is HClO. Second strongest HBr. Third and last. Okay. And that's the answer to a question. Okay. It has a nice 4-part answer, and diploma exam multiple numeric response have 4 answers. So this matches the layout you could see.